Hi, and welcome to Your Truth Explored, the podcast where we unpack your truths to bring clarity, understanding, and insight into what lies ahead. My name is Rodney Reynders. Today we have a wonderful discussion with Michael Ray around gender equality in parenthood. An interesting discussion from a man, a more blokey bloke you'll never find. Michael is an Australian awarded medalist, a former bodyguard to some significant artists. And yet, the conversation that he brings to the table is how we can better wrap our heads around this idea of parenting and maybe what influences are controlling us that we might not be aware of. So strap in, get ready, and let's explore your truth. Well, Michael, great to have you today, and I look forward to our conversation.
Likewise, Rodney.
Now, Michael, you've written an interesting book, and I like the conversation that you bring to the table, or the language you put around a topic that probably doesn't get discussed that much. But maybe we can start at your book and then see where the journey goes from there. Do you want to tell us about it a bit?
Well, Rodney, it was a bit of a surprise to most people who knew me before I wrote the book. I think they'd struggle to believe that I'd read one, let alone wrote one. But during COVID lockdown, my daughter was stuck at the kitchen table homeschooling, and so it just became a opportunity. The speaking business dried up overnight. Any training sort of dried up overnight. So I'd written a lot of stories about my daughter and my life together. It's been just her and I since she was 9 months old. And the stories just sort of flowed and off we went. So it's titled Who Knew? Because until that point where I'd actually become immersed in fatherhood and especially solo fatherhood, I'd actually believed a lot of the narrative around gender roles in parenting and in life in general. So that, the Disney fetishized depictions of motherhood, where it says only a mother's love, mother knows best, maternal instinct, which put immense pressure on women to be the font of all knowledge. And it makes dads doubt themselves and back up a bit and want to become the best assistant. So the best thing I can do is ask mum what I need to do, which just puts more pressure on mum who may be struggling with the normal frustrations and challenges of taming a toddler.
Yeah.
So it turns out it's like anything else, Rodney. It's simply time in role, and practice is what makes progress. So men start a little bit behind the eight ball because the minute women become pregnant, they're immersed in the hormones and all of the things, and it becomes real. And yet, in my many many conversations with guys from around the world, a lot of guys, when you ask them when did it first feel real, when you were painting the nursery, assembling the cot, going to the scans, and a lot of blokes report the same thing. It wasn't until they were left alone, 100% responsible with the bub, when they could, you know what, I might put bub in the pram and go down the park or go for a coffee. That's when it sort of dawns on dad. So we're a bit behind the eight ball. And then with our work of parental leave policies, it just starts to shift it further and further. And then, dads are praised just for parenting. It's, sometimes I felt like I'd cured cancer and solved the Middle East just because I managed to do a braid. And to start with, Ronnie, it was like, oh, great, how good is this? And then it dawned on me that it's not that I was doing anything exceptional. It's just I wasn't Homer Simpson. I wasn't a
Yeah.
Dill. So I'd upset or interrupted the narrative around it. So that's what Who Knew is about. So it's a little bit of a look at some of the systems and some of the barriers that pop up that actually hold dads back. And it just goes through some of my and my daughter Charlie's experience as we go through.
And so tell us your backstory as the drafting of the document on the table during COVID, because your lens is quite interesting.
Well, I grew up in a normal mum and dad married their entire lives until dad passed. Mum raised three kids. Two of them turned out okay, and then there was me. My dad was a bloke's bloke. He did everything, worked, provided everything. Mum ran the household, and it worked beautifully for them. They, mum's still with us and she loves the life that she had. She's a grandmother now with my sister's kids. Um, and I went on to be an elite level strength athlete, holding several Australian records in strength sports. Then went on to become an elite level strength and conditioning coach, all the way up to AFL level, world champion boxers. And then I ended up becoming a bodyguard. So I did security for every rock star that came through Melbourne in the late 80s, early 90s, everyone from Whitney Houston to Bon Jovi. I was a guy standing between them and the terror that's a 16-year-old girl trying to get to them.
Right.
And then at age 50, I became a father after a short-term relationship. And 9 months later, it became just my daughter and I. So
Wow.
after a life of traveling the globe with the coaching and bodyguard work, suddenly at almost 51, it was just me and her. And to say that I felt that I wasn't ready because I'd absorbed a lot of the narrative, a lot of the advertising where, dads are either invisible or inept. You're either Homer Simpson or Tim the Tool Man, or, you need a sensible mother to keep you in line or the kids at risk.
Yeah.
Um, and so to say that I was panicked, um, geez, it was an understatement. I was sure I was going to ruin this little girl, but I knew I wanted to have a crack at it
Yeah.
myself.
And so was that an intellectual knowing or is that just intrinsic?
I'll go back a step, Rodney. At 51 became this kid's dad, set another couple of Australian records with her in tow.
Oh, wow.
She now holds her own Australian record in powerlifting, first one at 10 and another one at 12. She's about to compete again later this year where she'll set another Australian record. But I went off and studied developmental psychology. I was that sure that it couldn't be this easy, that it couldn't be this much fun. So
Yeah.
I signed up at 52 years old and entered university for the first time after a bit of a bridging course and started studying developmental psychology. And what I noticed was all of the parenting advice jumps 180 degrees. It doesn't trend towards something. So it's let your kids self-settle. Don't go in and pick them up. Don't do this. And then suddenly it's like, no, do the opposite.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's not a slow trend or consensus. So it flip-flops backwards and forwards. And you know what it made me realize is no one actually knows my kid or my situation. And I realized this through coaching so many athletes over the years. What would work with one athlete wouldn't work with the other. So it was the way that you used the same principles and stimulus, but the way that you wrapped them, the way that you implemented them mattered most. And I think it's the same with kids. So, as a father, especially, the amount of unsolicited parenting advice that comes at you, it can become the loudest noise in the room and it
Yeah.
starts to make you doubt yourself and it drowns out um, that that inner voice where you just sort of, and it's just, I don't think that, but gee, I'm being told that by a woman, by a mother. She got three kids, but her three kids weren't my three kids.
Yes.
And it's not what I was doing wasn't working. It's just, could it work better? Am I going
Yeah.
to damage this kid? Is she going to be on the news at some stage in her life for torturing small animals because of what I've
Yeah.
done?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's where it went on, and that's why I say to dads, you've got your own story to write, your own lessons to learn, and your own path to follow. Do it your way, and just as long as you're following that truth and realize that this little kid is learning to be a human, and you're learning to be a dad. Just get involved because you never get those days back.
Mm. I like that statement where they're learning to be a human and you learning to be a dad, hey? Because it's interesting, you watch families and there's three siblings and they're as far apart as they possibly could be, but the incubator is exactly the same. The same
Yeah,
set of rules, the same environment, the same parents, the same everything, but the characters are just that far apart. And so you couldn't script the rule book because it's independent on the person sitting in front of you at that moment and that time. So where did you find the grace then when all these voices are coming at you that says, no, Michael, you got to do it this way, and this is the answer, and and you listen to the psychology that flops from one side to the other. Where did you find the grace to go, well, Michael's going to do the best Michael he can do, and let's see where this journey goes?
Well, Rodney, one of the things that didn't gel with me, and again, because I working in the space I work in now in the equality space, a lot of the narrative is, it's hard and it's tiring and mental load and all of these negative things. And Ronnie, I found it the most joyous, fun thing that I've ever had. If you can't laugh at, I think it was Jane Goodall said, if chimpanzees has taught us anything about parenting, it's that it should be fun. And
Yeah.
when you look at the absurdity, and that's the hardest part of being a dad for me, is trying not to laugh when you should be serious. Like, uh,
Not now.
yeah, I don't do very well. But it's really not life or death. And that's why I say to guys, look, they're either happy or they're unhappy, and it's either one end or the other. They're either hungry or they need a change or they need a nap. And it could all well be the same for you too, apart from hopefully needing to change.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
just go easy. It's not life or death. And what gets framed now as mental load, and I understand how it is, but to me, that mental load is life. Like at what point did we start pathologizing everything to do with our kids, everything to do with our life, um, you know, and it's what we place value on. So if I want to climb the corporate ladder, the mental load and the demands get higher the higher I go. The stakes get higher and higher, but for some reason, I want to take that on. But when it comes to parenting and kids, and a messy house isn't going to kill anyone. The dishes can wait. Takeaway meals not going to kill anyone.
Yeah.
It's just to enjoy it because there are a lot of studies around, and I think it was Gabor Matt said that the love felt by a parent isn't necessarily experienced by the child. So we've got to be very careful of what our reality is, how it comes across. And it's the same with any human interaction that we have, that emotional intelligence, how we're perceived and accepted by others. If we're not aware of the impact we have on others, um, and I find there's a lot of parallels with great leadership and great parenting.
Yeah.
So I forget who it was said, if you inspire somebody to dream more, do more, be more, then you're a leader. Well, I'd swap the leader for a parent. Hopefully, that's what we do as a parent.
Parent.
Um,
Yeah.
and the whole leadership used to be the old command and control, control everyone, set metrics. These are the benchmarks. You've got to go harder and harder. Now it's all about empowering people and growing people and being supportive as a leader, giving them the tools they need. And it's the same with our children.
Yeah.
It's what do you want to do? How do you think you can achieve it? What can I do to help you do
Yeah.
that?
So that's interesting. You make the statement we shouldn't pathologize everything in life, and that is a growing epidemic in its own right. Um, in fact, I was recently, just today, having a conversation, and I was challenged with my questions to some of our approaches, and this is my game. I'm in the counseling space, and so this is the game I play. So it's not that I dishonor what we do, but the challenge was made, how can I question some things? And I referenced my upbringing, which is in Africa, where there's no resources, there's no support if you have an issue, and nobody's going to help you. So when you say, how's your mental health? Most people will go, "Oh, it must be fine because I'm happy and I can get on with my day." Because not being not happy and getting support is not an option.
Mm.
So there's no counsel I'm going to go see. There's no Medicare card I can swipe. There's no. I'm just going to learn to be happy because that's the only option available to me. And so I'm not saying the one disqualifies the other, but I am saying that there's got to be some consideration of this. Am I pathologizing everything?
Only a
Interesting.
lot of what should be normal when people say, I'm going through depression. Oh, why is that? Well, I've just broken up. Well, I think you're meant to be a bit sad
Yeah.
when you break up. How long's it been going on? Or since we broke up, is it getting well, like there's an actual cause for it, or
Yeah.
I feel anxious. Why is that? Well, I've got a really important test coming up. Well, you should feel a bit anxious, but
Yeah.
it's because it's important to you. Do we want to live life with a Hessian bag over our head to know all those highs and lows? I'd
Yeah.
rather have the roller coaster. You can't, have the great, but there's all the pursuit of happiness. To me, I keep saying to my Charlie, content is what we want. Happy with your lot. So for the
Yeah.
effort you're putting in, the outcomes that you're getting. So if you're working, 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 and you're working towards an outcome and you're not getting it, the problem isn't the work. The problem is that you're doing it on the basis of an expectation. Do the work because the work is good. The work prepares you. The work will get you ready for something you may not even know that is coming,
Yeah.
but sit there happy in the way that it is. Is it good or bad? Well, it's whatever I decide it's going to be. What value do you place on it? And um, if you don't like the way that you feel when you think about certain things, then shift it around. That whole, I'm not sure, Rodney, you in the counselling space, when someone says it could always be worse, does that make them an optimist or a pessimist?
Or just it could always be worse. And
Yeah,
neither.
yeah, or
That would be my response.
yeah, and it is what it is. What story are
Yeah.
you going to tell
Yeah, that's
yourself
right.
about it? And why is it important to? So you've got to look back when I would train guys, like, why is this goal important to you? Oh, because, I want to have the record. Yeah, but why do you want to have that record? Oh, because, my dad said I'd never make anything of
Yeah.
myself. Well, guess what's going to happen when you do it?
You're gonna need
Your
another
dad's going to
record.
find, so, you need another why. And,
Yeah.
3 or 4 whys in, suddenly you get them go, oh, yeah, I hadn't realized that. Like, why do you want to be thin? Oh, because I got called fat as a kid. Where's that person now?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Well, why are you putting all of this effort into trying to fill a hole that it probably won't ever fill? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not saying your goals aren't worthy, but when people say to me, "Oh, I don't have the motivation," I say, "Well, motivation isn't a miracle energy source. Motivation is a reason.
Yeah, that's right.
Once you find your reason, the energy, the action will follow it. So once it's important enough to you and it's ingrained and it's internal and not extrinsic, that motivation, that reason will come."
Yeah, I like that. In my sessions, I always say to clients, "What's your big why?" Because if you don't take the time to actually work out, oh no, I'm actually doing this because old mate once said I'm fat. Like that's not going to carry you very far. It might get you off the starting line, but it's going to run out of steam just up the road. But if you can actually distill your big why, the why is Rodney here for such a time as this, that's a driving motivator that goes beyond any motivational speech that you could conjure up for the moment.
Mm.
I like this idea of expectations being the thing that's muddying the waters. So back when we started this conversation, Michael, you said there's this idea of gender and its labels. So I'm a blokey bloke, or I'm the wife, or I'm the mum. And so therefore that means I fulfill this particular task, but the blokey bloke, he fulfills the other particular task. And so there's definitely a media version around that gender role of expectations. And so what sets Rodney on the journey to reevaluate the expectations that I'm blissfully unaware of, or that somebody sold me somewhere down the line, and I'm running my course, I'm running my life along this rules of or list of expectations that I have never questioned.
Yeah, Rodney, there's I speak at a lot of men's groups, and that's what I say to them. We've got you in a group now, and I guarantee you, we're all a bunch of blokes. trying to fit in with a bunch of blokes who are trying to fit in with a bunch of blokes. And in the end, we're all performing. We've all got a mask on top of a mask trying to think. There's a great behavioral science thing called pluralistic ignorance, where I might hold a certain view, but I believe I'm the only one that holds it. So I keep my head down, I keep quiet. The bloke next to me might have the same views, but he keeps his head down, keeps it, nods along with all the rest of it. And I think there are a lot of blokes like that. So what what determines a good father has been ingrained in us from the start with when I speak with young boys. So when I say young, 13, 14-year-olds about what do you think will make you a good father? Got to have a good job, got to, be able to put a roof over the head, got to do all this and got to do that. What about if your wife did all of those things and you stayed at home? Oh, no, no, it's her job to stay at home. So we start off down that track. And um, running fatherhood didn't actually change who I was. Society, expectations, stereotypes, they did that way before my daughter. My
Yeah.
daughter, when I became a father, it actually revealed who I truly am. And suddenly all of that stuff just washed away. And it's like, you know what? If I could be a full-time stay-at-home dad, count me
Yeah.
in. Like 100%, like count me in. The majority of blokes that I speak to that have stepped back from their career a little bit to be more involved, engaged, and present in their kids' lives, I can say without doubt, 100% of them, once they got into the routine and settled and stopped worrying about, am I doing it right?
Yeah.
None of them regret their decision because you don't get it back.
Yeah.
And my daughter's 15 later this year. I can start increasing my work and travel and stuff like that because, whereas I've gone from the funniest bloke in the world to now I get more eye rolls and than giggles at my
You're at
jokes.
that
So
stage, are you?
yeah, so suddenly the coolest dad in the world, you're getting less cool.
Yep.
So and but because we built that rock solid connection in the beginning, um, I'm still a safe harbor. I always
Yeah.
will be. I'm the first one she comes to when she's got drama or a dilemma or something she's not sure about.
Yeah.
I never give her the answer. I ask her the question because the quality of her life is going to be determined on the quality of the question she asks, not the quality of the advice she's given. Because
Yeah.
in today's world, Rodney, there's advice comes from everywhere. And that's why I
Yeah.
tell her, like, don't judge it, but ask your own questions. Like,
Yeah.
so she'll say to me, Dad, so and so did this. What do you think I should do? Well, what do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking you. Yeah, but you must have some idea. Like, what
Yeah.
was your first instinct? Oh, I was upset, and I've gone, no, that's your reaction. So
Yeah.
that's how you felt. Now looking at it, what do you think your response to that reaction is? Well, I think she thinks. Oh, well, there you go. You're
Yeah.
thinking that she thinks, and you've got no idea what she thinks. Do you think
Yeah.
she can read your mind? No. What do you think she could read? You can read her mind. So
Yeah.
what would you do? What do you want to do? And I find when people give one advice and you just repeat it back and running.
Yeah.
What do
That's
you
right.
think you should do?
And it's such a fascinating um, metaphor, just that story. So, I've got a problem, Dad, help me fix it. And then you return the question and they explore it. I believe that's one of the greatest shortcomings we have in society at the moment. So if Rodney's angry, anger is bad. If Rodney's anxious, anxiety is bad. If Rodney's scared, scared's bad. But I'm genetically wired to be angry, scared, and anxious. And so at its very core, at its primary purpose, it is a valuable asset. But I have attached the expectation that anger only ever equates to something bad. But if it could possibly be good, what could it be? And there is no greater joy for me in sessions when clients go, I always say, your worst character trait that you define that disqualifies you from being a great person is probably your pot of gold is sitting right next to the flagpole that you've called your worst character. So let's lean into that. So if I lean into my anger and I go, oh, I'm angry actually because, uh, you know, honor is important to me. Oh, so honor is an important factor. Why is that? Because I believe, I don't know, we all intrinsically have eternal value. Well, that's a great different place to start and explore than anger is bad, which tells you to leave it alone, move it away, and adapt some new response mechanism. Whereas actually, if we leant into that thing, if I lean into my anxiety, gene- genetically wired to set me up for success, it gives me, gives me the heartbeat and the sweats and all those things that make me actually perform. I say it's bad, and then my psychology is going, oh, I have to pull all these skills I've given Rodney to help him succeed. I've got to pull it back. So all the dads out there and all the mums that are trying to show grace to the dad that's doing his best, what do you think is the nugget we can give them today to start down that journey of going, let me evaluate some of these expectations that I think I'm living up to or should be living up
Um,
to?
the biggest one, Rodney, for me is fatherhood is different. It's not less. It's meant to be different. Whether if the picture, if we say, right, dad's got the 3-year-old carrying her, where do we picture her? On the shoulders. Where
Yeah,
do we picture mum carrying her? On the hip. Kids being carried. Fatherhood is different, not less, and it's meant to be different. And the outcomes that come from the slightly different stimulus are great. Kids with dads who read to them have higher language skills because dads read slightly different. We use more technical terms, whereas mums will use more descriptive, oh, isn't it wonderful and beautiful? And, something falls over and mum will be, oh, see, it's okay. And dad will be, well, a bit of a design flaw there.
yeah,
But, so that difference is where we go. So one's not better or worse, they're just slightly different. And when we see the outcomes for children with involved fathers, it gets pulled apart a little bit and assigned just to gender. But if dad's still involved and mum's still involved, then the triad must be fairly respectful. So it's the whole environment. So it's the village setting, not just, oh, well, dad's in, so academic skills are better. And it's this, well,
yes,
there's obviously a better relationship because I think it was Knight Oberlin said that um, the best outcomes for children is in the family, and the family isn't defined by gender, sexuality, or even cohabitation. It's about the relationships between them. So all of this, men provide this, women provide that. If I've got a mum that encouraged risk taking and climb that, do this, do that, would be no different if it was dad. But when we say, oh, fathers encourage risky play, which encourages this, so I noticed the biggest thing is when I was with my mum tribe, Charlie'd go to do something, mums are all screaming out, be careful. Like, you've just said, my thing is, what's the plan, bub? She go, Dad, I'm going to climb that. Oh, bub, before you start,
what's
what's
the
the
plan?
plan?
Yeah,
Well, I'm going to go, and that's why I say, when you say be careful, you switch off the upstairs part of the brain straight away,
yeah,
which does all the cognitive and the planning and the risk
yeah,
assessing, and go straight down to the, oh, like,
yeah,
what am I going to do? And it does nothing. So, and that's why I say to my daughter, but whatever you're going to start, just start with what's the plan,
yeah, yeah.
whatever.
And so are we saying there's no place for the other approach, or are we saying there's place for a balanced approach?
There's a place for a balanced approach, but the reason why we have different outcomes for mums and dads is because of the different stimulus. When we put it in, we get a reaction or a response. But one of the things, Rodney, when I was doing the developmental psychology, every textbook, the mother will hold the child's gaze, the child will turn towards the mother's voice, and then oh, would it be the same as, yeah, well, what does it say? Mother, oh,
Yeah,
Michael. There were studies with over 2,000 parents in the cohort on different parenting styles and not one father. And like, not one. And
yeah,
that's why I said, gee, if I put this forward now, I wouldn't get it. But then we would have studies on same-sex couples, single mothers, but
Yeah.
very little on single fathers. We've
Yeah.
jumped straight from um, mum to birthing and non-birthing before we even really included fathers. Here
Yeah.
in Victoria, our first point of contact in the ongoing support hub for new parents is still called the Maternal and Child Health Centre. Well, where does that go?
Yeah.
We've got uh, roughly 1 in 7 or 1 in 10 fathers suffering perinatal mental health challenges and no screening. Like, how good would it be if they were child and family health centres and we applied the same screening test to dads as what we did mums, and we picked it up? Because that whole family systems theory, it's like if
Yeah.
I've got a really bad infected toe, it can eventually give me septicemia and kill me. If dad's
Yeah.
not right and not functioning, it's going to impact mum and bub. So we've broken it all apart and gone, oh, we need to prioritise mum because mum's looking after the kid. Yeah, but if mum ends up looking after the kid and dad,
Yeah.
or mum's suffering, because the chances of dad having mental health challenges, if mum's suffering postnatal or any of those challenges, that goes up as well. So
Yeah.
we've divided the unit into parts, and we've zoomed right in, and we need to come back a bit. And
Yeah.
I think it was Bowen or Bowlby, I get it mixed up, that said, if a society truly values its children, then it must cherish its parents. So, we've got kids who are struggling at the moment, and genetically we haven't changed a lot since the end of the First World War, where there was a lot of migration. So
Yeah.
what's changed? Maybe the parents are struggling. So we've got stressed, anxious parents raising stressed, anxious
Yeah.
children. But again, because of that pathologization of everything, where they're looking, oh my
Yeah.
God, my 14-year-old stays in the room and plays video games.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
well, what options are you giving them? Like,
Yeah.
they're not motivated to do a lot that's not, but you set the example. How often are you on the phone? How often are,
Yeah.
because there's that other one where what we ignore our children will inherit, and what we inspire they'll own.
So if I give you a magic wand, Michael, and I say, okay, so wave the magic wand, and here's the I don't want to say the solution. Here's the better path forward. What does the better path forward look like?
Get rid of all the outdated gender assumptions that, dad earns, mum nurtures. Um, Nurturing, compassion, and empathy aren't coded into chromosomes any more than leadership and ambition. You know, um, we do it constantly, Rodney, where we go, she's a great role model for young girls. And she's a great role model, full stop. Why just
Yeah.
for young girls? And he's a great role model for young boys. Well, no, he's a great role model for girls to show them. So if you've got a compassionate, caring, and fully involved, engaged father, rather
Yeah.
than saying to the boys, you need to look at him, you need to say, girls, that's what you should be expecting. Point out to the girls. And when we have a high achieving, successful woman, we need to be pointing out, boys, that's what your partner could be capable of. There are
Yeah.
no set roles.
Yeah.
As I said, this stuff hasn't made me less masculine. It's expanded my masculinity.
Yeah.
It's brought it up to its potential. It can't take away from what I do as a bloke. Can't make me less masculine, and unless I go through, a sex change or something like
Mm.
that. But anything I do is masculine, and the more I do expands that sphere of masculinity.
And so to the father that is listening and goes, okay, I like this idea. What's the practical application?
Just get in, get involved, have a bit of laugh at yourself. But the more involved I'll give a shout out to a great researcher, Dr. Lee Getler, and he researches the hormonal and neurological changes associated with caregiving. Prolactin, hormone normally associated with breastfeeding. Bud cries, helps mum lactate, bring on milk to feed. Guess what? Dad hears, especially the more involved he is, hears a baby cry. Dad has prolactin as well, but that prolactin is a protective sensed in the same area of the brain that senses danger. Dad hears baby cry, straight to what's going on.
What's wrong?
Realizes crying, takes it to mum. Dad watches mum breastfeeding. Guess what happens then, Rodney? Oxytocin happens
Yeah,
in dad watching mum while mum gets oxytocin as well. So that
yeah,
social bonding hormone goes, so it keeps
yeah,
the unit tighter together. Dad's testosterone drops in relation to fatherhood. So it makes him more want to stay at home, less competitive, explains my dad bod now.
yeah,
Um, so we have the same hormonal responses as women, the same areas of the brain light up, slightly less magnitude, but it's an evolutionary fact. We're hardwired to care for these kids.
yeah,
And I'm going to throw a South African one at you, Rodney.
yep.
Ubuntu.
Yes,
We are who we are through others.
that's right.
So Desmond Tutu came out with it, and
Yeah,
that's what happens. Fatherhood, we're wired these things, and it's actually epigenetic as well. Children of fathers are born with a higher response rate to this, so their testosterone slightly lower, all of the other things are up and go. So the more involved we get, the more we will become a society that is more involved, engaged, and hands-on as parents. But one of the biggest barriers that I find, because I usually ask guys, what are the three top things that are stopping you being the dad that you think you'd like to be or what your child needs? And in the top three, maternal gatekeeping is one of the biggest ones. So where mum, no, do it this way, do it that way, do it this way. And again, that's a flip side of the, blokes were meant to be strong and stoic and, earn lots of money and work hard. And oh, well, this is the other version, the flip side of it for
yeah,
women. It's a tale that we've told. So that's what I'm saying, guys, don't get home and say to your wife, right, we're doing it my way. Because
yeah,
um, I find great agency and fulfillment and um, reward in me being a parent.
yeah,
And I guarantee that I would do a paternal gatekeeping should someone else, want to take over.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so, and that's, I say, Ronnie, like, we're all the same dog with a different tail.
yeah, that's right. And so it's this awareness piece. Hey, it comes back to this awareness of my response. Like, am I being the maternal gatekeeper? Is an interesting idea. From the bloke's perspective, it's equally as true as from the lady's perspective. But it's sitting in the awareness. I'm interested. So, one of my pet subjects is this idea of my capacity to love anybody beyond myself is directly linked with my capacity to love myself. And in your questioning of blokes, has that question ever been answered? And if so, what was the findings?
I always try and say to them, like, who do you feel like you're disappointing? So, if you're not happy with yourself, why not? Are you doing, you know, the best you can? Because that's always available to you. So I've had no sleep, I'm hungry, I'm running late. Am I doing the best I can in these situations and circumstances? Yep. The
Yeah,
fact that you're running late, you're hungry, you're sleep
yeah,
deprived. There were times before that we could have done better, but that's in the past now. So at
yeah,
this current point, given the situation and circumstances, is there something that you know that you could do that you've gone, nah, I can't be bothered?
yeah,
Because unless that's where you're at, you're beating yourself up for no reason. I'm not saying that we have to be happy with the outcome or the situation or circumstances,
yeah,
but just is it fatal?
yeah,
Like, and the best thing to do, that's what I was saying, when you're going through a shitty time, the best thing to do is to keep going. Don't
yeah,
stop in the middle of it. And
yeah, to
both
prolong.
the best and the worst part of parenting is it's all temporary.
Yes,
So, the sleepless nights, the magical moments where they climb into your lap and you're the best dad in the world, and they tell you that love. That's all temporary too, Rodney. So
Yeah, that's right.
you've got to accept, so I say to guys, if I give you the most comfortable chair in the world to sit down and put your feet up on and say, would you want to sit? Yep. And then if I said to you, and you can never ever get up again,
Yeah.
would you sit in it? And it's like, well, ever? Well, it it's one of that. So do you want a little bit of the good thing? And
Yes.
right?
So just humor me if we can go back to my question. I'm taking from you the answer that yes, there is a link, and if I can give myself some grace, that goes a long way beyond even me.
Exactly. And we don't want we're the example for our kids. We're the guide, we're the benchmark of how we handles life's trials and tribulations. And the fact that we're here today, none of us have got here without a bit of a dark period or a struggle,
Yeah, that's
or
right.
and yet here we are. And when we look back and compare it to how we felt while we were amongst it, it doesn't seem, the more distance between it. It's a little bit like grief, Rodney.
Yeah,
It doesn't stop being grief, but it changes.
yeah,
You
that's
carry
right.
it a little bit different. I miss my dad every day.
Yeah.
He never got to meet my daughter, and I always wonder um, what he would have thought. But what do you do?
And yet, even in that loss, there's value because you know you're contributing to a generation beyond his.
Mm,
So you're seeing a gift that he didn't get, but because without him there was no gift either. So it's a continuing of the story.
that's it. I stand on his shoulders.
Yeah, that's right. And I just yeah, if I can just again, if you're listening to this and you all you can see is your problem, just lean into that problem. There's some value there. There's some gold. I always call it. Now, Michael, so somebody's listening and they want to know what you do or want access to some of your resources. How does somebody get hold of you?
Rodney, LinkedIn is the best one where I'm prolific. I speak a lot of advertising conferences and do a little bit of work with men's groups. Yeah, and speaking a lot of HR and workplace things, because it's I try and explain for too long. Gender equity or equality has been framed around good for women when it's
Yeah,
good for everyone, and the best thing we can do to enable women to grab their hard-fought opportunities with both hands is to enable and encourage and expect fathers to be equally responsible for raising the next generation.
yeah,
But until fatherhood is spoken about in the same glowing terms as motherhood, until it's valued, there's not many um, blokes that
gonna step
really
up to the
want
plate.
to. Yeah, well, culture is all about. I want to be respected and feel like I'm contributing. Especially men, I find, like to feel like they're contributing something bigger than themselves. So
Yeah,
producing an excess, whereas women do that with the raising and nurturing in the next generation. It's like,
yeah,
it's a pretty spectacular contribution to society that women used to make on that, but blokes can contribute to it equally as well. Apart from birth and breastfeeding, we
yeah,
blokes are just as capable to do everything else. And a good
yeah,
father, just like a good mother, should be admired and revered more than possessions, and power.
yeah, yeah,
It's the world we build is not made of things; it's made of people.
yeah. Well, on that note, it's a wonderful thought. I was going to say sobering thought, but I don't think it's sobering. I think it's a wonderful thought that requires an application. You have to watch your language and manage your expectations to go, hang on, how do I bring equality? Yeah, what am I believing tomorrow that I need to change so that my son can be a wonderful parent that raises kids whilst his wife flourishes as a CEO. If I
And
can
call
do,
out advertising, Ronnie. That's my one call to when you watch advertising. If dad's either invisible or inept, call it out. Call it out day after
Yeah.
day, because our kids are marinating in this stuff time after time after time and not even realizing where they're picking up this stuff. Because, like I say, I got to 50 and I believed it 100%. Women know, men help.
Yeah.
Just, and then where did that come from?
Michael, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you in the swings and roundabouts.
Thanks, Rodney. Enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Your Truth Explored. If today's episode resonated with you, please take a moment to follow the podcast and share it with someone who might benefit from the conversation. Your support helps these messages reach the people who need them most. If you'd like to explore your own truths more deeply, you're welcome to connect with me at yourtruthservices.com.au about coaching or counseling bookings. Also available on that website is our other resources such as music, books, and videos. Until next time, take care and stay connected to your truth.